Last time we left off with the pond and stream carved out of the foam insulation base of the layout, plastered and painted. Now it's time to add some scenery around the water feature so we can pour the resin. The process starts with taping off areas that I didn't want to get ground cover on, like all the rock faces and the tracks. Diluted basic white PVA glue is what I like to use. The ratio is by eye, but I'm going for a 40-60 water to glue ratio. The goal is to get the glue mixture to spread, but not run like water, so not as diluted as scenic cement, a little thicker than that. And what I want to achieve is to have the basing material stick and stay in place, so a little more body is needed for this initial laydown. The basic ground cover is a beige-colored, unsanded tile grout. I added a small amount of the grout to a disposable cup and covered this with an old nylon sock to act as a screen for keeping the big lumps from falling out into the glue. Just be aware this stuff will dust and spread everywhere. So keep a soft brush and a vacuum handy for the layout, and remember to wear a dust mask for your health. After that layer is dry, it's time for some grass in the form of fine turf from Woodland Scenics. I blended two different grass mix together, a burnt grass and a green grass, a little more of the green in the mix than the burnt. This keeps the look of autumn grass, but a little greener near the water source of the pond and the stream. The grout and grass turf are used as base for the static grass, which is to say if there are any gaps in the static grass, you won't see painted pink foam, but other ground cover. With this in mind, I just dabbed blobs of PVA all around in a semi-random pattern. In the cup of the static grass applicator, I mixed light and dark green grasses of 2 and 4 millimeter length. For this small area application, I just laid the negative lead directly on the surface and shook the grass over the glue. The next day, I came back with a soft brush to collect the unglued grass off the layout for future use, and then remove the tape to reveal areas that are just dirt. Time to prepare for pouring water. First up is to smooth out the stream's end. I used various sandpaper grits glued directly to a straight edge just to sand away the excess sculptor mold and plaster. Once I could fit a sheet of 1/8-inch thick plastic flush with the side of the layout, I added some hot melt glue to the sides of the river exit, remembering to set the hot melt glue gun to low temperature so that it doesn't melt the foam with the glue. Once the plastic sheet is set, a little extra glue is added to the bottom of the plastic sheet where it touches the wood frame to ensure that there isn't any place for the resin to escape. Speaking of resin, I had some deep pour resin left over from another project. The pour ratio is on the bottles, and for this resin, it's 2 parts resin to 1 part hardener by volume, which is really nice because you don't have to get out that silly old gram scale, but just measure 2/3 of a cup and 1/3 of a cup, and that gives you 8 ounces of ready to pour resin. I also took the opportunity to add a single drop of blue ink to the mix to give me kind of a bluish shade. With the long cure time, you can stir the resin quite vigorously and for enough time to scrape the sides to get a good mix, which is nice because it has a very long cure time. This allows air bubbles to move to the surface and not stay trapped in the pour. Pouring is straightforward. Slow and steady, and get some resin to your dam, the plastic sheeting, to make sure it's leak-proof. This type of resin also allows for deeper pours, thus the name deep pour resin, up to 2 inches in depth, so you can pour less layers. And we have no leaks. Once I was done pouring everywhere, I just covered the entire area of that end of the layout with a sheet of cardboard. And this is to keep the dust and bugs and other stuff from falling into the curing resin, as it did take a full 48 hours to cure. And I needed a second pour to get the level up to where I wanted to be, so this was a week-long project. Time to remove the plastic dam. It looks good, but the edge needs to be cleaned up to remove the resin that wicked up the plastic sides. Easy to do with a sharp hobby knife. Just be careful and go slow and don't cut yourself. The last step is to add some ripples to this flat resin pour. For this, I used gloss Mod Podge. Just roughly apply with a cheap brush. And then I used my airbrush to just blow air, nothing in the cup, onto the glue and make it more ripply. I used a low pressure setting on the compressor, something like 15 psi. I also had this dock scene from Woodland Scenics in their Scenic Accent line. So after getting the Mod Podge down and rippled, I just took time to place the dock and the boat into the glue and let it set. With another overnight dry, here is the pond and stream all set with ripples. I still need to build a set of stairs to get down to the dock, get some trees planted, as well as set up the parking area for the fisherman and his family. Probably an access road, but all that's coming later. For now, it's time to get those bridges set, and put the tracks back together, and be able to run some trains again. Until next time, keep the steel wheels on the tracks.